Hi there DeeperNaut, and welcome to this Friday's video, which is all about how does the speed work for the DPN. Now a lot of people have said, look, I connect to the DPN and I'm only getting 3 megabits per second, but I've got a gigabit line. So what gives? Where's all my speed gone? Is my device broken? And so on and so on. So we're just basically going to go through how the DPN works in basic terms and how the speed influences the speed that you actually get. Okay, so let's go into how does the DPN work first. So in this example, I'm going to be going from the UK to Mexico. Now, the reason for that is in the UK, although it's a free country in air quotes, and you know, it's all nice and dandy, and we're all really nice to each other, there's no firearms here. Okay, there's no handguns on the streets. It's very, very, very rare. That is a good thing in a sense. However, the problem is that now people just have knives. So people will buy knives, you can buy them in any shop, and the government are now trying to get rid of knives. And then after that, they'll probably try and get rid of rocks and slingshots. You know, that's the way it works here. So if I was to go to a knife shop website and then try and buy a knife, they would ask for ID, which is fine. However, a lot of websites, unless you phone your ISP up and say, look, I'm over the age of 18, I want access to adult sites, a lot of the knife websites are actually blocked. You can't get on them. Now I want a brand new fibre internet connection, which is going to be for the Node, and they're all unblocked. So because I'm over 18, they probably already know that doesn't come blocked. But with my 5G mobile phone router, the websites are actually blocked, and I've got to phone them up to get them all unblocked, which is crazy for knives. You know, if it was an illegal website, fine, but knives are completely legal. You can have them. So this is where the DPN comes into play, and this is why it's so important that we have a network like this to get around all of this kind of censorship and bollocks that we have a right to do. We have a right to buy a knife if it's completely legal. So let's have a look. Okay, so here's Dan. Dan is wanting to buy a knife from the UK. However, he can't access the websites because they're being idiots. So he's going to go through a guy in Mexico, because I'm pretty sure Mexico don't have the same rules. They're not quite that dumb, and they will have easy access to the website that he wants to visit. So the way that we're going to do this is by using the DeeperConnect Mini in this example. You can use any DeeperConnect device. They all have the DPN, and it all works pretty well. So Dan in the UK is now going to boot up his Mini SE or whatever device he has, and he's going to go into the dashboard and add the website to the DPN. So if you come down here, you can see that it's only been on for 2.5 hours, and it's on a private IP, so you're probably not going to get many good tunnels. However, if we go to domain config and we put in the address that we want to route, so bear in mind, do not include the slashes or the www or the https. You just want the domain name like that. And then go down to North America, Mexico, and then add, and that's it. So now whenever we want to access dnaleisure.co.uk, it will automatically go through Mexico. So we'll get around all of that ISP blocks and governmental censorship and stuff. That won't affect us now. We've only got one tunnel. Again, that's because it's a private IP. However, that's just the way it is. So now that what we have to do is the data we're going to now go to that website, okay, the knife shop website. So what happens? Dan in the UK enters the website address into his website browser, so Brave or Opera, whatever, and then it then goes to the Mini, and the Mini goes, right, okay, this website, I need to go to Mexico for this. I need to pass it through that guy in Mexico because there's a rule for it. The guy in Mexico, his computer will then access, or rather his Mini or a deeper device will then access the website that you want, so knives.co.uk or whatever, DNA Leisure, and then it'll absorb the information, it'll download the information, and then pass it back to the guy in Mexico, to Dan's Mini in the UK, and then to Dan himself. So it kind of piggybacks and just passes everything back to him. So he requests it, it goes to the Mini goes, right, I need to send this to the Mexico node. The Mexico node then downloads the information and then passes it back to the Mini that requested it, and then that goes back to Dan. So from the ISP point of view, Dan hasn't accessed that website. He hasn't. He's connected to a private individual in Mexico who's then passed some information back, which is encrypted because of the devices, and then he looks at it on his computer. It's pretty cool. And that is essentially how that works. And you can also see how that will encrypt all of your traffic. So if you go onto websites and whatever website you want, your government and your ISP can't know about it, because the deeper devices will encapsulate the actual information, encrypt it, and then pass it back, and then it's kind of decrypted end to end. So it'll only be opened up, if you will, when it gets to your mini in your house. Your ISP can't see what that is. Neither can the government. So that's pretty awesome. So now let's get on to why it may be a bit slow for you. A lot of people, I know they don't understand the whole DPN thing. They think, well, if I can download something, if I've got a 1 gigabit internet connection, I should be able to get a gigabit internet through the DPN. That's not the case. I wish it were. That would be fantastic. If you haven't used the app yet, the app gives you some amazing speeds. But for the devices themselves, it's very, very, very unlikely that you will get the same download speed that you get now without the DPN. Okay, so now let's go through why it is actually slow, or perhaps slow. And it's all to do with upload speed. So for example, Dan in the UK, say he has a gigabit internet, so he gets 1 gigabit download speed, and his upload speed is 100 megabits, okay? That's great. Now let's say the guy in Mexico, his download speed is also 1 gigabit, and they have 100 megabit upload speed. So just to make sure that we're on the same page here, so when I say download speed is the amount of information which your internet can pull off the internet onto your computer. Okay, that's probably the easiest way to do it. And the upload speed is how fast it can push information onto the internet. So if you're going to download a film, okay, that might download at 20 megabits per second, which is pretty good. But if you want to upload that film, because you're pushing it to the internet, you might want to be able to upload it at 2 megabits per second. Typically, the upload speed is around about 20% of the download speed. So this presents a bit of an issue, and this is where people don't realise how the DPN and VPNs can be a little bit slower. And that is because although you have a 1 gigabit download speed, the guy in Mexico might not. He might only have 10 megabits, so he can only push information to you at 2 megabits. Internet connections like that do still exist today. But in the example that we have here, we both have 1 gigabit downloads and 100 megabit upload speed. So although you can receive information from the guy in Mexico at 1 gigabit speeds, he can only push information to you. So on his end, he'll download it at 1 gigabit. So he'll grab the information for you, but then to give it to you, he has to push it to you. And that is where the limitation is, because he can only upload or push the information at a rate of 100 megabits. So although you've got plenty of bandwidth to receive the information, it's being throttled because he can't send it quick enough, because the speeds are never the same. That's not a problem with the DPN, that's not a problem with VPNs, that's just the way it is. Upload speed is always a lot less than download speed because it's a lot less used. So what it basically boils down to is, what is the upload speed of the person that you're connected to? Okay, if they've got a really small, tiny upload speed because their internet connection isn't very good, then obviously your download speed through the tunnel is going to be a lot less to match that. So there are a few other reasons why you might get a low speed as well. And unfortunately, these are reasons that people have highlighted in the past and they haven't been corrected. Well, not corrected, there's nothing wrong with it. However, a lot of people just don't want to share. And I think it's personally not on. I think they should be made to share. They limit their internet to next to nothing, which makes it pointless. It doesn't help the network. And so anyway, I'm going to go through that now. So here we are back on the dashboard. We're still logged in. We're going to close all this route and stuff because we don't need to know any of that anymore because we've already set it up. So in settings, and we go to sharing, and then sharing config. You'll see some rules that we can set. So the first two on the left we'll go through. So sharing, enable, disabled, does exactly what it says in the tin. If you turn it off, you won't share. BitTorrent sharing, if you don't want to share torrents, you can turn that off. Fine, whatever. These two on the right are the two most important ones, and these are the ones that have caused quite a lot of debate in like the Discord and stuff. So what some people might do is they'll go, right, well I just need to share 10 megabytes of information a day. So why don't I just set it at 0.3 or 1 gig or 2 gig, and then once I hit that, it'll stop. The other thing is sharing bandwidth speed. So for example, you can put in 1.5 megabits per second. On my internet at home, on my 5G, if you connect to me, you would get maybe 140 megabits upload speed. So that's pretty good. However, if I set that at 1.5 megabits, you would only get 1.5 megabits per second download speed. So if you connected to my UK tunnel and I had that set, you would be able to watch maybe a YouTube video on ultra low quality. It would take forever to download anything. Websites would be slow, and that is the issue. I appreciate Deeper want to kind of not force the DPN on people and not make it a criteria that you can't have limits. However, if they remove the limits, everything will be a lot quicker. But I do understand why they're not. So I'm not going to show you how I get a better speed through the DPN. To be fair, I don't use the DPN much. I use it for like a case-by-case basis if I need to have some privacy. But basically, go to the DPN, put it on full route to start with, and then pick somewhere where you want to be. So we'll go with Germany, and we'll have a look at the tunnels that we have. So we have 3 tunnels, and that's a previous speed test. I've been testing it, and we'll refresh it. And so the IP address that we've got, okay, we're only getting 1.8 megabits per second. I'm going to tell you now, this guy is doing what I said I don't want people to do in the last part of the video. Alright, and I'll tell you how you can tell. So the internet speed is 1.9 megabits per second, so his upload speed should be 1.9 megabits per second. But look at his upload speed, right? It's a good way to tell what a person's download speed is by looking at what upload speed you actually get. So I know that his internet speed, his download speed, is 20 megabits per second. So on the 20% rule, I should be getting like 3 megabits per second. I know it's not a big deal. There you go, 25, so I should be getting 5 megabits per second. So the reason why I'm getting 1.9 is most likely because he's throttled it. He's made the settings. He doesn't want people using all of his internet bandwidth, so he's turned it right down. So if you're in Hanover, Germany, with that IP address on Vodafone, please unsubscribe because, yeah, I don't want you on this channel. Turn those limits off. It helps everybody. So now that we found a really bad tunnel, we don't want to use that one. So we click on switch IP and it will give us a brand new IP address. And then we just do it again. Now don't use the little refresh thing on the right hand side. Actually refresh the page because it might still link to the original IP address. But now you can see it's much better, 23 megabits per second. And this one was really good. So it keeps going up and up and up. And you can see the kind of difference it makes from one person to another. Now we're going to go switch IP again. So you can see there we had 210 and now we're going to switch. It's now 63. So we'll do it again. So refresh the page and you'll see the speed go up. And this one was really good. I didn't keep it because I had to show you something else. I wish I did keep it. Unfortunately, I had to refresh the IPs to show you how to do that. So 54 megabits per second is pretty good. That's probably close to the upload speed of what I have. So on my new connection, on my actual connection, on my 5G one that I use for everything else, it'd probably be like 110. But then it bumps back down and then goes back up again and goes up and down. So 22, 24. It then settles on like 24. But what if you run out of IP addresses? Maybe they're all really bad. Well, if you click on refresh, it will then give you some brand new ones. And then you can do the same thing again. Just the first one you have, you'll basically have all of your tunnels taken away from you and you'll be given 3 or 5 additional ones. Once that happens, you can then do exactly the same thing again. So you can do the speed test. If it sucks, click on switch IP. If that one sucks, click on switch IP. And if that one sucks, then refresh IPs, get another 3. And so on and so on. Yeah, it's not the best way. I mean, it's not an easy way to do it, but it does work. Yeah, and I mean 24 megabits per second, that's probably enough to watch Netflix. In 4K, perhaps not. But you can basically just go through them and find the one that is good. And once you've got one that's good, you can keep it, mostly. So I've clicked on refresh for another set of 3. So we've got 1 for now. There you go, so there's 3. And then we can just do the speed test again and just keep on going. So this one is one that I also wanted to highlight. It's another guy who's unless he's got really bad internet. I wouldn't even pay money for this if that was what he had. But look, your internet speed is less than a megabit. You know, Germany again. But look at his so his actual download speed, because remember, I can see his download speed from my upload speed is 13. So his internet's not that great, but that's still like 5% of what his internet is. So he's probably limiting that, which sucks. Don't do it. But yeah, so just keep on going through. Eventually you will get a tunnel which isn't too bad, or is really good. I won in Turkey that was absolutely rapid, and it was good. But obviously, being a private IP address, it'll all change. So anyway, so now that we have the tunnel that we want, right? You can see there it ends in 1, 2, 3. So keep on trying. But now that we know which tunnel we want, we've decided which one is the best for us at the minute. Just click switch IP until it goes back to the IP address that was good. So we know it ended in 1, 2, 3. So we've pressed switch IP until we get that IP address back. And from there, you can then select smart route and then put in your smart routes. Or if you want to keep it on full route, you can. But you can see there that we still have the one that ends in 1, 2, 3. It hasn't changed. So that is now ours. We can keep that until the person restarts their node. We can set Germany for Netflix, Disney Plus and all that, because we know that it's a decent tunnel. Okay? And that is the way that I do it. It's long-winded, but for things like streaming and Netflix, it's just the way that I do it. It's probably the best way, but it's not the quickest. So let's get on with the final thoughts. This video's gone on for a little bit longer than what I would have liked, but anyways. So Deeper could do a lot of things better, I think, with this. They could do something like this, where they have like a score rating, like a traffic light kind of thing next to each IP. So maybe when somebody plugs their mini in, it'll do like a little speed test. It'll do that every like 4 hours, and then it'll update the dashboard for everybody who can see that IP address and who might actually want to use it. So people can just flick through, find one which is blue or green or whatever, and then use that. Removes the whole point of getting things that are like tunnels that might not be any good. And you might also be able to put like a sort or like a filter, so it'll bring all of the better connections to the top, or you can set a filter where you only want tunnels that have 100 megabits or more. However, that will cause a problem because everybody will want those and they'll select them. And then the people who have just normal internet stuff, like maybe they might have a 10 megabit internet connection because that's what they get, that's all they can have, they might get left behind and they might not be able to share their 10 megabytes or contribute to the network. So it's a bit of a rock and a hard place, I think. But yeah, I think there does need to be something at the very minimum. I think they should remove that that way you can set the speed. I think they should take that out, either share or don't. I think that's what it should be. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. If you didn't know how the speeds all worked on the DPN, well, that is how it all works. It's actually the same for VPNs as well. But the vast majority of VPNs are like cloud based. They're not real computers. But also, they are machines that obviously a lot of people share, and they do get blocked off. I've spoken to ExpressVPN, NordVPN, and they have said that their VPNs, their actual nodes, do get blacklisted, and they have to then refresh the hardware, refresh the IP addresses and stuff. But yeah, So yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on Sunday for the weekly update. Thanks all. Bye bye.